What happens when two of television's most beloved personalities collide in a way no one could have predicted? What began as a routine interview on the Kelly Clarkson show spiraled into one of the most uncomfortable moments in daytime television, ending with Trevor Noah walking off set in visible frustration. But the real story isn't just the exit. It's the conversation that lit the fuse. A single question about comedy that snowballed into a debate neither host nor guest was ready for. From the moment Trevor stepped onto Kelly's brightly lit stage, something felt off. The usual warm, bubbly energy of Kelly's set seemed sharper, almost strained. She welcomed him with her trademark smile and colorful blazer, while Trevor, ever poised, responded with his easy charm. For a few minutes, everything seemed normal. Small talk about projects, life after the Daily Show. Then Kelly leaned forward, her tone shifting. Trevor, do you ever feel like comedy has become too political? Sometimes I wonder if we've lost the pure joy of just making people laugh. The air changed. Trevor's smile tightened. What do you mean by too political? He asked carefully. Kelly pressed on, hands gesturing. It just feels like every comedian has an agenda now. Like they can't just tell jokes without turning it into some big statement. Don't you miss when comedy was just about making people happy? Trevor's jaw clenched slightly. Comedy has always been political, Kelly. From medieval jesters, Bosworth to Chaplin, to Richard Pryor and George Carlin. Humor has always been a way to address hard truths. Kelly nodded, but her words pushed back. Sure, but isn't today different? Some comedians seem more interested in lecturing people than entertaining them. Who are you referring to? Trevor asked, his tone sharpening. Kelly laughed, but it was strained. Oh, I'm not naming names. I just think audiences want an escape. They want to laugh and forget their problems. Trevor leaned in, his calm voice edged with steel. With respect, that's oversimplifying. Growing up under apartheid, comedy wasn't an escape. It was survival. It was hope in impossible circumstances. Kelly waved her hand dismissively. But that's a totally different situation. Here in America, people just want to be entertained. The audience stirred, visibly divided. Some nodding with Kelly, others locking onto Trevor's intensity. Trevor's expression hardened. Are you suggesting America doesn't have issues worth addressing through comedy? Racism, inequality, corruption. You don't think those deserve a spotlight? I'm not saying comedians can't. Kelly countered, her voice rising. I'm saying they don't have to make every single joke about those things. What happened to observational comedy? What happened to just being funny? It still exists, Trevor replied, patience thinning. But dismissing political comedy as less legitimate isn't just wrong. It's dangerous. Kelly scoffed, eyes flashing. Dangerous. Don't you think that's a little dramatic? Trevor shot back, firm and unwavering. Not at all. When you dismiss political comedy, you're saying comedians shouldn't use their platform to call out injustice. You're asking entertainment to exist in a vacuum, separate from reality. That's not comedy. That's denial. By now, the studio was silent. Crew members exchanged uneasy glances. The audience knew they were witnessing something that wasn't scripted, wasn't planned. Kelly, frustrated, leaned back. Look, Trevor, I'm not attacking anyone. I'm just saying maybe people want a break. A little relief from how heavy the world is. And I'm saying, Trevor replied, his voice low but cutting, that assuming audiences can't handle truth with their laughter is insulting. It's a privilege, a luxury. Not everyone has. Kelly bristled, her voice sharp. A luxury? What's that supposed to mean? Trevor took a slow breath, as if weighing whether to keep pulling the thread or let it go. His voice, when it came, was deliberate. Kelly, you've had an extraordinary career. You're beloved, you're celebrated, you've had millions cheering you on. And because of that, you have the luxury of believing entertainment can just be light, fun, and simple. But not everyone has that luxury. Kelly's face tightened instantly, the color draining from her cheeks. Are you seriously suggesting I don't understand struggle? That I haven't faced challenges in my life? I'm not dismissing your struggles, Trevor replied, palms raised. But I'm saying your perspective on what comedy should be is influenced by privilege. That's not an attack. It's just reality. The word landed like a punch. Privilege. Kelly straightened in her chair, her voice cutting through the tension. Privilege? Really? You want to talk privilege? You've made millions of dollars making jokes about America while being from another country. Don't sit here and lecture me about privilege. The audience collectively gasped, the sound sharp and unmistakable. A line had been crossed. Trevor's expression shifted in an instant. The warmth was gone, replaced by something cold. Unblinking, the silence in the studio was suffocating as he sat, perfectly still, letting the weight of her words hang. Finally, he spoke, his tone dangerously quiet. Excuse me. What exactly are you implying, Kelly? Kelly's media polish flickered back, on, her words fumbling into a backtrack. I didn't mean it like that. I just meant, we all have different perspectives based on our experiences. No! Trevor cut in, his voice steady, unyielding. You said I made millions making jokes about America while being from another country. As if that disqualifies my perspective. As if being an immigrant makes my commentary less valid. The studio was frozen. Even the crew had stopped moving. Kelly shifted in her seat. Trevor, I think you're misinterpreting what I said. Am I? Trevor's voice sharpened. Because what I heard sounded like the polite version of go. Back where you came from. Kelly's face went pale. That's not what I meant. You're putting words in my mouth. Then explain it, Trevor pressed, leaning forward. Because I've heard that argument before. Every immigrant in this country has. So tell me, what did you really mean? Kelly looked around helplessly, as though someone might intervene. But no one did. I just think sometimes outsiders have a perspective that doesn't fully capture the American experience, she offered weakly. Trevor let out a bitter laugh. The American experience. Kelly, I became an American citizen. I've lived here for years, paid taxes here, built my career here. But to you, I'm still an outsider who should stick to jokes and stay quiet about your country. That's not what I said, Kelly protested, her voice cracking under the weight of the moment. You didn't have to say it, Trevor replied coolly. It was in your tone, in your words. Kelly forced a smile, trying to regain footing. Look, can we just agree we see things differently and move on? I think we're both getting a little too heated. Trevor shook his head slowly, eyes locked on hers. No, Kelly, we can't move on, because this right here is the problem. You tried to invalidate my voice because of where I was born, and now you want to sweep it under the rug. I'm not dismissing anything, Kelly said, her voice rising. I'm trying to have a civilized conversation. Civilized? Trevor repeated, eyebrows raised. You think questioning my legitimacy based on birthplace is civilized? You think telling someone their right to critique their own country isn't valid, is civilized? Kelly's composure cracked, her frustration boiling over. Maybe the problem isn't where you're from, Trevor. Maybe the problem is you're so defensive, you can't take any criticism without playing the victim card. The words dropped like a bomb. The audience audibly winced. Trevor's face shifted from disbelief to shock to pure fury. He rose abruptly from his chair, the movement so sharp several crew members jumped. The victim card? Trevor's voice thundered now, echoing in the stunned silence. Kelly, you questioned my right to speak about America because I'm an immigrant. And when I call you out, you dismiss it as me playing the victim card. Do you have any idea how insulting that is? Kelly's lips parted as though she wanted to object, but no words came. The studio had fallen into a charged stillness, the kind of silence that exposed truth more brutally than any shout. Trevor leaned in slightly, his voice lower now but unyielding. Kelly, when someone's legitimacy only gets questioned because of where they were born, that's not debate. That's not disagreement. That's prejudice dressed up as conversation. Her face tightened, trying to hold composure, but the weight of his words pressed harder than the lights above them. I wasn't attacking you, she managed, her voice brittle. I was questioning your framing of... Trevor cut her off, calm but devastating. No, you were questioning my place, and that's the difference. If you had a real argument with my ideas, you'd have stayed with the ideas. But instead, you went for where I come from, as though that disqualifies me. That's not critique, Kelly. That's erasure. The audience shifted uncomfortably. Even the crew behind the cameras seemed frozen, watching the moment unfold with wide eyes. Kelly attempted a smile, but it faltered almost immediately. I think we're just never going to agree here. Trevor straightened, his presence filling the space with something heavier than anger. Clarity. No, Kelly. We could have disagreed. That would have been fine. But you chose to question whether my voice belonged in the conversation at all. That's the part you still don't understand. He let the silence settle again, the truth impossible to soften. And deep down, he added quietly, we both know if I'd been born in America, you never would have asked that question. Kelly stared at him, her defenses collapsing under the weight of what she couldn't bring herself to deny. Trevor didn't need to say anything more. His silence said everything. Kelly finally looked directly at him. You're putting words in my mouth again. No, Kelly, Trevor said evenly. I'm holding up a mirror, and I don't think you like what you're seeing. The studio audience was silent now, the kind of silence that prickled in the air. A few people shifted in their seats. Others covered their mouths, as though they were witnessing something they weren't supposed to see. What had begun as awkward was sliding quickly into painful. Kelly, realizing she was losing her footing, tried one last time to steady herself. You know what, Trevor? I've been nothing but gracious to you. I invited you onto my show. I've always been respectful. And this is how you repay me? By attacking me on my own stage? Trevor's expression hardened, shifting from disappointment to pity. Kelly, do you hear yourself? You questioned my legitimacy as an American commentator. You accused me of playing the victim. You told me I was too sensitive. And now you're trying to frame this as me attacking you? That's not what's happening here. You are attacking me, Kelly snapped, her voice rising. You're trying to make me sound like some kind of racist or bigot, when all I did was share my opinion about comedy. Trevor shook his head in disbelief. All you did? Kelly, you didn't just give an opinion about comedy. You used my immigrant status to dismiss my perspective. That's not commentary. It's prejudice. The word landed like a blow. Kelly's face flushed, and her hands clenched on the arms of her chair. How dare you? How dare you come on my show and accuse me of prejudice? I have friends from all over the world. I've supported immigrants. I've always been inclusive. Having friends from all over the world doesn't make you immune to prejudice," Trevor replied calmly. "And supporting immigrants in the abstract doesn't mean you can't dismiss the voice of a specific immigrant when it challenges you." Kelly abruptly stood, trying to reclaim control by matching his presence. "I am not prejudiced, and I resent the implication." "Then explain to me," Trevor countered, "why my being born in South Africa was relevant to our discussion about comedy. Why did you bring up my birthplace when we were talking about whether comedy should engage with politics?" Kelly opened her mouth, closed it, then faltered in silence. Every second she couldn't answer grew heavier. "I was just pointing out that we have different perspectives," she finally said weakly. "Based on what?" Trevor pressed. "On the fact that I'm an immigrant, because that's exactly what you said. You told me I made millions joking about America while being from another country. You made my birthplace the issue, not our different experiences, not our backgrounds, but specifically that I wasn't born here." Her shoulders sank under the weight of her own words. "I didn't mean it that way," she whispered. "It doesn't matter what you meant," Trevor replied, his tone gentler but unwavering. "It matters what you said. And what you said was that my perspective on American society is somehow less valid because I wasn't born here." The room felt darker, the studio lights now harsh rather than warm. Kelly looked around, searching desperately for support, but no one moved. "I think we should end this interview," she finally said, her voice small. Trevor nodded slowly. "I think you're right." He removed his microphone, the small action echoing louder than any word. "Trevor, wait!" Kelly blurted, panic flashing across her face. "Maybe we can work this out." Trevor paused, then looked at her one last time. "Kelly, the time to work this out was when I explained why political comedy matters. It was when I told you about my childhood in South Africa. It was when I tried to show you that comedy and politics can't be separated. But instead of listening, you doubled down. Instead of trying to understand, you questioned my legitimacy as an American commentator." "I'm sorry if I offended you," Kelly said, though her apology sounded hollow even to herself. "You're not sorry you said it," Trevor replied, setting the microphone down on his chair. "You're sorry about the consequences. There's a difference." He straightened his jacket, glanced once more around the studio, and walked toward the edge of the set. Crew members avoided his eyes. "This isn't how I wanted this to end," Kelly said desperately. Trevor stopped, turned back to her, and spoke with quiet finality. "Kelly, this ended the moment you decided my birthplace mattered more than my message. This ended when you chose to see me as a foreigner, making jokes about your country, instead of as a fellow comedian trying to make sense of the world through humor. And with that, Trevor Noah walked off the set of The Kelly Clarkson Show, leaving behind a stunned audience, a shaken host, and one of the most uncomfortable moments in daytime television history." The cameras kept rolling as Kelly remained, standing, alone, the weight of her words and their consequences settling like stone. What had begun as a debate over comedy had exposed something deeper. How easily prejudice can slip into polite conversation, and how quickly respect dissolves when legitimacy itself is questioned. Sometimes the most revealing moments happen, not in scripted performances, but in the silence after the truth has been spoken, when the cameras are rolling and there's nowhere left to hide.